If nobody talked about the fact that Elon Musk now owns Twitter, I don't think I would have noticed. Before Elon Musk took over Twitter, I primarily just used it to scroll through my feed and look at the posts of people that I found interesting. And after Elon Musk took over, I pretty much just use Twitter to scroll through my feed of people that I follow that I find interesting. The only time I'm not scrolling through my feed is when I'm chatting with my friends because I'm in a small YouTubers group, and occasionally I'll scroll through the trending tabs or the For You tabs if I think I need a topic for a video. But other than that, I don't use Twitter for much. And as such, when people are talking about these big changes that'll collapse the platform, I'm just not seeing that. In fact, if nobody talked about it, it's just not something I ever would have noticed, because nothing has really fundamentally changed, aside from the fact that there was briefly that 2 verification thing, and the only reason I noticed that is because a couple of accounts like Ford have both the verification tag and the official tag. And that got me wondering, why do we care so much that Elon Musk has taken over and is doing things a little bit differently? Especially when the fundamental experience, or at least the one I'm having, is really not any different on Twitter. I'm making this video because I want to argue that even though Elon Musk now owns Twitter, it's not really going to change that much. And as such, we really shouldn't care. Now, there may be some new features and probably some things are going to change just based on whatever whim he has that day. But fundamentally, it's probably going to continue to be that app where we throw a couple of 100 characters of our thoughts and then just kind of toss it up online and see what happens. At its core, I don't see that aspect of Twitter really changing. And whether or not new monetization features are added, the fundamental experience, or at least the one that I'm having, I don't think it's going to be any different. And more than likely, it's not going to change your experience either. And as such, I think this is something that we really just need to not care about as much as we do. Now, if you're a developer, then maybe you should care about it. Or if you're a celebrity that relies on Twitter to push sales or interest in your products, then you can probably care about it. But for 99.9% of us that don't really have a following and just kind of use it casually to keep up with people or topics we find interesting, it's not something we really need to be concerning ourselves with. And yet, when I'm scrolling through Twitter or Reddit, I seem to find it seems that a lot of people really care about this. And all that has me wondering, why do we care so much? I think the first reason we care is that we want to feel like we're a part of something. When something's going to happen that we think is significant, there's kind of a desire that boils up that we want to be along for the ride, so that when something big results out of whatever thing was happening, we can say that we were there and we were part of it. This is the same appeal that Apple had with their early iPhone releases. Something big was happening when an iPhone was released, and even though it didn't really matter whether you got it on the first day or the 10th day, people wanted to be a part of this big thing they felt was happening so that they could say that I was there. We care because we want this to be relevant to us. And we also kind of like the drama. It feels good to point at Elon Musk, one of the richest and most successful people in the world, and say, look how dumb he is at the decisions he's making. I would never make those decisions. It makes us feel good about ourselves to be able to point at someone else and say, oh, look at what they're doing. I would have never done that. Ergo, I am superior. And that makes me feel good about myself. There's this kind of community aspect of drama where you can look at something ridiculous or absurd and you can make fun of it because you believe that you would have made different decisions given the same scenarios. And also, there are other people around you that believe the same thing, especially when you're in the little bubble of a Reddit comment thread or a Twitter thread. When you find that little echo chamber, it's fun to make fun of that person together because it builds camaraderie and it gives kind of a happy feedback loop where you make fun of him collectively. You make fun of Elon Musk, then you feel better. So you go back to making fun of Elon Musk, and then you feel better. And the cycle just continues. And then you get to make fun of him collectively with other people. I mean, and that just feels incredible to have this feedback loop of making fun of him, other people agreeing with you, which leads you to make fun of him again, and once again, the cycle continues. And what really helps this cycle is that there are no consequences. If I find joy in, say, something like gossiping, and so I gossip to my friends about one of my coworkers, that could have a direct impact on my life. It's all good fun, and I'm having a great time with that feedback loop, but if the coworker were to find out that I was gossiping about them, they might be upset. And as such, there was a price to that gossip. Gossiping has stakes attached to it. It's fun, and I enjoy it, but it could go wrong, so I do have to be cautious. Or take something else like buying a car. buying a car feels good. I get the happy dopamine response that, yay, I now have something new and shiny I can enjoy and play with, but then I also get the sad cortisol response that I had to pay for the car and as such have lost the money. There's a give and take there where you get the happiness of the new car, but it costs the sadness of having lost money. But with internet drama, and more specifically the drama around Twitter, we don't have that same issue. I can have my cake and eat it too, so to speak, as I can criticize Elon Musk both by myself and also collectively with other people, which makes it even more fun, and there's essentially no downside. I don't lose anything by doing that. I can criticize him all I want, and I honestly don't even have to be right, because right kind of ceases to matter in Reddit or Twitter threads. I stand only to gain by talking bad about Elon Musk, because it's fun, and there are no stakes involved, and if someone makes fun of me for it, I can just ignore them, and if Elon Musk himself were to somehow see it, it honestly doesn't affect me. I don't really care. When we have fun with no stakes involved, it becomes very addicting. And that is fundamentally why we care about this Twitter drama. Not because we have any kind of a vested interest or the well-being or not of Twitter, but because it's fun to make fun of things and be a part of something. And it especially helps when being a part of something and that fun we get to make of it doesn't really cost us anything. We care because we want to be right, we want to be a part of something, and we want to be validated by other people. However, now I want to tell you that we really shouldn't care. We shouldn't care for two main reasons. One, it doesn't really affect our lives, and two, it doesn't really matter. Now, for the first point that it doesn't affect our lives, obviously, we shouldn't only care about things if they impact us directly. For example, I am not directly impacted by discrimination against the LGBTQ plus community or discrimination against people of color, but I absolutely care about both of those groups, and I will defend them as often as necessary. Discrimination, even if it doesn't affect us, is an example of something we should care about, even if we are not directly impacted by it. Now, the second point is more of a caveat to the first point, in that even if it doesn't impact us, if it's something that matters, then we should care about it. With the aforementioned example, even if I'm not the victim of the discrimination, it matters that people in the queer community are not discriminated against. And when they are, I should care. However, with Twitter, not only does it not directly impact my life, whether Twitter adds a couple of new features or Twitter engineers are occasionally locked out of the building, but also it doesn't really matter if Twitter goes down. It's not like we have a lack of social media, and it's not like we won't find something else to substitute for the time we spent scrolling through Twitter. When MySpace went down, ultimately, it didn't matter. People just filled the void that MySpace left with new social media sites like Facebook and YouTube. There's not going to be a time where, because of a specific social media going down, we are now spending less time on the internet. We're just going to substitute that time for something else somewhere else. If you need an example of this, just look at Vine. After Vine ended, but before TikTok came along, there wasn't really a short-form scrolling app. But even though people kind of had nostalgia glasses for Vine and fondly remembered all the classic ones, ultimately, people didn't really care that it was gone. Ironically, it was Twitter that bought Vine, and then after a little while, they couldn't figure out how to make it profitable, so they just shut it down. But people just kind of moved on with their lives, and they took the time they were spending on Vine, and they just spent that time elsewhere. And if Twitter disappears, it's going to be the same thing. People will fondly remember it as the app that was a total cesspool and just gave rise to so many crypto scams. But also, it was kind of a fun app where people just word vomited 2 sentences and tried to make other people laugh. And sure, if it disappears, that'll suck. But really? We will just kind of get over it and move on to something else. And in its stead, a new short-form text-based social media app is going to arise. When there's a hole in the market like that, someone's going to fill it. So if it doesn't affect us, and ultimately it doesn't really matter for most of us what happens, we really shouldn't spend as much time caring and be as concerned as we are. Now, it's fun to talk about, and it's fun to make fun of Elon Musk, but the moment we actually start caring about it, as if we have some kind of vested interest in the well-being of Twitter, I just feel like we're missing something or losing something. Because there are lots of good things you should care about, important things that deserve your attention and emotional capacity. And Twitter just is not one of them. Now, I'm not here to send any kind of an anti-fun message. Moving forward, you should do whatever brings you the most joy and makes you happiest, providing that it doesn't hurt other people. If making fun of Twitter and its possible downfall makes you happy, yeah, go for it. If making fun of Elon Musk for the bizarre decisions he's making over there make you happy, then yeah, go for it. But I'm worried that people are spending too much time caring about an entity that frankly does not care about them back. And this goes both ways, both for the people that are caring too much about the downfall because they are overjoyed that Twitter's finally going down, and then the people who care too much about it because they're worried about Elon Musk. Both parties are wrong, and both parties just need to stop caring. Be there for the good times and have fun. And then just don't worry about it, because really, things are gonna be just fine. So if it doesn't affect your life, and ultimately it doesn't really matter, then maybe we should just not spend time worrying about it. And maybe the only thing we should worry about is loving all of the people around you, and I'll catch you next video.